like, Dad, why are you just saying finger popping each other's assholes to me, your adult son? Stop saying this. Welcome back to the Popcorn in the Face podcast. I am your host, Matt Iorio, joined by my co-hosts today, Val McDonald and Connor Busella. Today, we'll be discussing the 2012 movie 21 Jump Street. A little rundown of today's podcast agenda. I will do a brief recap of the movie's plot, hopefully as a refresher for those at home that haven't seen this movie in a while. And then I'll jump into some quick demographics for the movie, and then we'll jump into categories with my co-hosts. 21 Jump Street opens with a flashback to high school in 2005, where Morton Schmidt, played by Jonah Hill, gets turned down when asking a girl to prom, and popular jock Greg Janko, played by Channing Tatum, is told he can't go to prom. We fast forward 7 years, and they meet again at the police academy, where they become friends and eventually graduate. Finally on the job, they run into well-known drug dealers, the One Percenters. They finally make their first arrest and arrest a one percenter, but soon learn their suspect walked free because Janko did not read him his Miranda rights. Due to this mess up, they are reassigned to the 21 Jump Street program, where they meet their new boss, Captain Dixon, played by Ice Cube, and learn they're going undercover as high school students to find the source of a new deadly drug called HFS, or holy fucking shit. Schmidt and Janko move in with Schmidt's parents and attend their first day of school, quickly realizing the high school is a completely different world from the one they graduated from 7 years prior. After meeting the popular group, Janko punches a student, and they both end up in the principal's office, which results in them accidentally mixing up their assigned undercover identities. Janko attends AP chemistry, which he calls app chemistry, while Schmidt attends drama class, learning from Molly Tracy, played by Brie Larson, how he can get a hold of the dangerous drug that they're after. Schmidt and Janko meet up with a drug dealer at school, revealed to be Eric Molson, played by Dave Franco, and he forces them to take the drug to prove they're not narcs. While tripping hard at school, Schmidt and Janko meet the physical education teacher, Mr. Walters, and Schmidt sabotages a track meet and lands the role of Peter Pan in the school play, and Janko crashes a band practice. After Schmidt wins favor with the cool kids and Janko gets in with the nerds, they use these newfound friendships to throw a party at Schmidt's parents' house and have the nerds bug Eric's phone to try to identify the drug supplier. From the phone tap, Schmidt and Janko learn Eric is meeting up with the drug suppliers. Janko pulls Schmidt from his pre-musical preparation, and they follow Eric to the meetup, where he meets up with the One Percenters from earlier in the movie. After some arguing and mishaps, Janko and Schmidt get into a deadly car crash with the gang, stealing multiple cars, causing several crashes, and finally watching a truck full of chickens explode. They race back to the play, where the play is ruined, Molly storms off, and Janko and Schmidt are expelled after fighting. Due to their expulsion, both get fired from their Jump Street assignment, but Eric recruits them to protect him as he's worried about people he's mixed up with. Janko and Schmidt decide to crash prom, and there they found out the school supplier is the gym teacher, Mr. Walters. When the One Percenters and a very high Molly show up, Janko and Schmidt are identified as undercover cops, and two undercover DEA agents, who we will discuss later, reveal their true identities. After a crazy gunfight with several casualties, Janko and Schmidt engage in a limo car chase with Mr. Walters, who has Molly and Eric as hostages. Janko uses his newly found science skills to make a bomb and blow up one of the One Percenters' limo, and they stop Mr. Walters' limo, who holds Molly at gunpoint. After Janko takes a bullet for Schmidt, Schmidt finally has this heroic moment where he shoots Mr. Walters in the dick, exclaiming, "You peaked in high school, motherfucker." And the two friends read the PE teacher his Miranda rights together for their first arrest. In the aftermath, Molly and Schmidt make up and kiss, Eric and Mr. Walters go to jail, and Schmidt and Janko return to Jump Street as heroes. After Captain Dixon congratulates them for their first arrest, he tells them, "You two sons of bitches are going to college." And then ensues a very creative, high-energy end credit sequence that probably would take its whole other podcast. But now that we've given you guys a hopefully brief refresher of the movie's plot, some quick facts just regarding the movie before we jump into categories. This movie was released March 16th, 2012, billed as a buddy cop action comedy movie. Had a R-rated rating, and it was directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, which was their second directorial movie after Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And this was written by Michael Bacall with Jonah Hill co-writing. Score was composed by Mark Mothersbaugh and at a runtime of an hour and 49 minutes. Now that you have a quick refresher of the plot, before we jump into categories, we are going to share our first time seeing this movie. So, because we'll start with you, Val. Do you have any recollection of the first time you saw 21 Jump Street?
I think as we do more of these episodes, you guys are going to find that I have zero recollection of any time that I ever watched a movie for the first time. I just know that I've watched it a million times. So I do not have a specific instance where I watch it for the first time, but I do have some specific memorable instances of watching it. Again, I know, like, if you've seen our last episode on role models, I mentioned how like our families always would get together, Matthew's family and Connor and I's family, we'd get together and watch movies, and we really would just like kind of rotate between these same few movies, 21 Jump Street being one of those. So I definitely have a memory of watching this movie with us and our dads and our siblings. But I also have a lot of like specific memories of watching this in high school with Gianna in my basement. Gianna is one of my friends, but basically we would watch this movie all the time. This was like our go-to whenever we didn't know what to put on. It'd be like after school on like a random day, we would always put this movie on. So I do have like specific memories of that. Again, don't know when the first time I saw it was though, but this one I definitely saw like close to, I think either when it came out or I might have seen it in theaters, but nothing, I don't have any specific memory of the first time.
Connor, how about yourself? When was the first time that you think you can remember seeing this movie?
I'm 95% sure that I saw this movie in theaters. I don't have a ticket stub collection to verify that fact, but like Val mentioned, this is a movie that we've seen probably no less than 20 times when we get our families together for
That's
a
probably
movie
the low
night.
end of that estimation as well.
Well, yes, yeah, probably closer to 50, but um, and like Val mentioned, also this was a classic basement friend group. In college, we watched this movie after going out to the bars. We'd throw this movie on and just laugh our asses off. This is an all-time comedy. It's aged super well. It's one of the movies, one of the comedies I've seen the most times in my entire life. Um, yeah, I don't exactly remember seeing this in theaters, but it's been a movie I've seen far too many times since it came out.
Well, I think you both make really great points about it being just a great movie you can just throw on with friends or with after anything. And it has that kind of energy, and it's written in a way that is just every scene is so good that I feel like you just throw it on in the background of families hanging out, a party, whatever, friends are getting together, and you can just really kind of, you step aside from the conversations just to watch the TV for 5 minutes. Any scene you just kind of find
Mhm.
yourself in, you're just like, oh my God, like this is great. You're just laughing already. So it has great energy. It's great for that kind of setup. And so it's funny, Connor, to you mentioned thinking you saw it in theaters when it was a ticket stub. I know with the Role Models pod, I had proof of my Role Models ticket stub, and I was 100% sure I saw this in theaters. Like I can remember seeing it, but now I'm like 99.9% sure because I went back to my trusty 1999 Pikachu movie stub tin to find my 21 Jump Street ticket stub, and it was not there. I was like, oh, I'll make it a reoccurring thing. Well, I'll pull up my ticket stubs and during the pod,
Mhm.
and I didn't have it. And I'm like, and I had like 25 ticket stubs from that year alone, and I somehow don't have that one. But to
Shoot.
discuss the first viewing experience, I'm pretty certain I saw it in theaters. I can remember just being like, in that kind of post-movie enjoyment and glow as those credits are rolling, like, oh, like now I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters. I just remember having an absolute blast the first time I did see it. All right, well, now that we've discussed our first movie experience, we can start jumping into our categories. We have a bunch today on the docket. Our first category, as usual, will be general trivia. So with this category, we'll ask each other a trivia question or two. This time, we'll start with Connor, if you have any trivia questions for us.
I do have a trivia
All
question
right.
for you guys. I went through a whole bunch of IMDb trivia and different trivia stuff on the internet for this movie, and I decided to kind of come up with my own. So I want to ask you guys. Uh, this movie is very close to having a collective EGOT. There is a Emmy winner in this movie. There is a Grammy winner in this movie, and there is an Oscar winner in this movie. Unfortunately, no Tony winner for 21 Jump Street. But I want to ask you guys, can you name the recipients of these awards that are featured in the cast of this movie?
Well, Jonah Hill's got to be the Oscar, right? Is he an Oscar
Oh,
award winner?
Brie Larson, Oscar winner. Sorry,
Oh,
Brie
sorry, Val, to
Larson
cut
did
over you. Yeah, The
win.
Room, I believe, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Brie Larson won, in 2015 for Room. She won Best Actress. Jonah Hill was nominated twice for
Oh,
Wolf of
but
Wall
okay,
Street and for
that's what I thought.
Moneyball
Moneyball, cool.
in supporting actor, but he did not win. So that is the Oscar. You guys got the Oscar. We're still looking for Emmy and Grammy.
I would assume
Grammy's
Ice Cube.
got to be Ice Cube.
Yes, You guys are correct. Ice Cube was given a Lifetime Achievement Award just a few years ago for being in the rap group NWA. So now we are just looking for the Emmy of this movie.
The Emmy. Kind of going through my list of people here. Emmy. So we're talking more. Well, is Emmys just TV or?
It's got to be Jake Johnson.
Is it?
I don't believe Jake Johnson has won an Emmy.
Okay, I got
he
one.
He should.
I feel like it's either Ellie Kemper for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, or it's going to be Dave Franco and something random. But now that I'm saying it aloud, or could it be Nick Offerman? So maybe he got like best guest appearance for like The Last of Us. Damn it. Okay.
You are correct.
Oh, was it Nick Offerman?
It was Nick Offerman
for
his
God.
best appearance in The Last of Us.
It helps knowing
that
random
is
facts.
The OEG. Yes. I do want to throw out there, I don't know for sure if Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt did win one or not. I didn't come across that in my research. But you have the one that I wrote down was Nick Offerman. Brie Larson, Nick Offerman, and Ice Cube are collectively on their way to an EGOT.
Wow, okay. And I don't know why my mind went to The Last of Us for Nick Offerman's one episode versus like Parks and Rec. I don't know why I went there first.
Yeah.
I don't think he won for Parks and Rec, and that one episode of Last of Us was incredible. So well done.
Sorry to take over that question there, Val.
No, you had the answers. I clearly did not. I was just throwing out names.
You contributed with Ice Cube. You contributed.
Yeah. This is where
we said it at the exact same time.
Yeah, this is like me saying this stuff is where my wife and sister will both be rolling their eyes at me right now. All right, so great trivia question, Connor. Val, Connor, do you have any other questions, or is that your main one?
Not at the moment. I have something that I'll probably bring up later on, but I'm interested to see what you guys have for trivia.
Yeah, Val, what do you got for us?
So I did not phrase mine in a question. I just kind of have like a couple things to share. I did not actually create a question
worries.
But I will kind of just dive into a couple things I had. First thing is that I did not realize how much actual inspiration and connection that this movie had to the original 1987 series. I think like obviously like when it came out, I knew that it was like based on the series just because people were talking about it, whatever. And like obviously we all know Johnny Depp. And that was probably like the only connection that I really knew about. But there was like a couple other things that I thought were interesting too. One of which being that all original cast members from 21 Jump Street television series in 1987 have cameos in the film, except for two of the cast members. But they actually show up in 22 Jump Street. So basically everybody that was from the original series came back for the movies, which I thought was kind of cool. And then another like random piece of trivia too is that throughout the film, as the two main characters like return to the chapel, they have those two female officers, one of them being Dakota Johnson. I can't remember who the other one is, but they always like talk about what they did.
Yep.
Busting a prostitution ring, busting a chop shop run out of a high school auto shop. And those were two plots from the 21 Jump Street series as well. So they kind of like brought the connection in there. So I think there was like there was a million more connections, but in the interest of time, I didn't want to like write every single one down. But I thought it was really cool that it was like they really deeply like ingrained some of like the original 1987 series stuff into the movies.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I've had the benefit of having my dad as being my dad, who is the original OG Random Facts human being. And I remember seeing this movie for the first time. Maybe I should have mentioned this a few minutes ago, but for the first time I saw this, and every time I've seen this since then, my dad loves to point out all the people that were in the original 21 Jump Street series from the late 80s, early 90s. I didn't know if either of you had mentioned or planned to mention the DEA undercover people cameos like later on. If you did, I don't want to step on any toes. Connor, were you going to talk? Okay.
No, go for it.
Then, so like Val said, a lot of those original people from the show featured in this movie or the next one. And at the end of the movie, the two undercover DEA agents are revealed to be Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise, who are reprising their actual roles from the original series. Which, when I first saw this, my dad was like, "Oh, it's those two people. They were in the original show." Them and Holly Robinson Pete, who is the cop that lets them take out the car from the impound lot when they go to school.
Okay.
She was in that as well. So he immediately points all of them out, and I'm like, "Okay, Dad." He tells me this, but it's cool in hindsight knowing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have 2 trivia questions for you guys in a moment, but in my research for this, and I'll do some more trivia at the end in our kind of odds and ends section. But what I stumbled upon was in casting this movie, they wanted to bring back Johnny Depp for a cameo, and his stipulation or his condition was, "I will only come back if you also bring back Peter DeLuise." So he also comes back for that spot, and Johnny Depp also said, "And I will come back if you kill off my character." And I read to the directors confirmed that this film is in the continuity of the original series. So those are actually their original, them playing their original characters actually getting killed off. But that's how their stories end.
Yeah.
I did not.
I love that.
Very fitting.
Amazing.
Very fitting for the movie that recycles old shit.
Yeah.
We don't know
They make a very on the nose meta comment about that with Nick Offerman. How about recycling old shit in their office, which might be what you're quoting or referencing right now. So I just wanted to jump on that. Any more questions or trivia from you guys before I ask you my questions?
I have one thing.
Yeah.
It was something that I came across in the IMDb trivia section for this movie. 2 pieces of trivia that IMDb has on their website that I thought was very funny, that specifically that they appeared very close on the trivia list. One being Jonah Hill wrote the part of Captain Dixon with Ice Cube in mind. And then about 2 trivia blurbs later was the quote, "Ice Cube mostly improv'd his lines."
Amazing.
I thought that was really funny that it was written specifically for Ice Cube, and then he made up all his own lines.
That's what Jonah Hill wanted. Like he wanted the Ice Cube presence.
Yes, he just wanted Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love when you get people writing roles specifically for people, and then you get them to actually play that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know, that's always fun.
Great piece of trivia. I'll dive into my 2. I couldn't keep it to one. I had 2 questions for you guys. So my very first one is, and I pose these as questions. A 2014 Sony hack revealed that 21 Jump Street was supposed to cross over with what other franchise?
Oh, I read this. I can't think of it right now. I remember reading this. It's going to drive me crazy.
It's another Sony franchise, and this particular franchise itself also had a couple installments. There was a few movies in there already existing.
Was it Fast and Furious?
No.
Oh,
thank God.
That would
But
be
no.
terrible. Yeah. I have no idea.
Any last guesses?
I don't.
No worries. So that franchise, they had a planned crossover with Men in Black.
Men in Black
Would have been
What?
insane. And one regard, I'm like, that's dumb, but also I'm like, that'd be kind of crazy if they pulled it off. But yeah, they
I can't even picture that.
Yeah, it was supposed to be called Men in Black 23, but it was canceled by 2019. So as of 2014, it was in the works. By 2019, it was canceled. And then kind of riffing off of this sequel crossover type of stuff, there's been several sequels and spinoffs of 21 Jump Street planned, whether made or canceled. Obviously, 22 Jump Street came out in 2014, where they do go to college. 23 Jump Street was in the works as a, I guess really still. It's kind of an on and off. I know there's been talks of Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum saying they're interested, but it's kind of just been held in limbo for a while. But some other things I've kind of found doing an internet deep dive in April 2015, a female-centered Jump Street film was announced to be in development. And by December 2018, Tiffany Haddish was cast as the main star, with Zendaya and Awkwafina also in negotiations for roles. And then by November 2020, a draft of the script had been completed, but nothing's really come of that since. It's 6 years later from that last update. And then also a Molly Tracy, so Brie Larson's character, was planned, or I guess is planned for a spinoff movie. In July 2023 was announced to be in development. So pretty recent. And then the official title so far for that has been announced to be Jump Street now her pleasure. Now for her pleasure. So yeah, so a lot of Jump Street stuff there possibly in the works, which I
Wow.
had no idea. Jump Street expanded universe apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, the sequel definitely hinted at that in the
Yeah.
credits
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the 42 additional spin-off
Jump
movies
Street
Yeah.
being
Culinary
pitched in
School.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, medical school.
Yeah. So that was my first trivia question, and then my second one, which we'll get to quickly before moving to the next category, is, and this might be more geared towards Val, maybe not, but actor Peter DeLuise, who cameoed as his original 21 Jump Street character Doug Penhall, has two real-life brothers who are also actors. One is Michael DeLuise, and the other is David DeLuise, who starred in the latter. David DeLuise starred in which Disney Channel TV show?
Oh yeah, Wizards of Waverly Place. He was the dad.
I was like, Val's gonna know that.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Which was
That's so
another
funny.
Paul, my dad, fun fact of, oh, these guys are brothers, this and that. Blah, blah, blah. I'm
Yep.
like, okay, yeah. So like these have been ingrained in
Yes.
my mind since 2010, 2012, since then.
Yeah, same on my end. I distinctly remember watching Wizards of Waverly Place when I was younger. Either my mom or my dad was like, "Oh, like that's
you know?
that's one of the DeLuise brothers." I'm like,
You're
okay,
like, the DeLuise
like didn't
brother?
care.
Who?
I'm like 10.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I figured, I'm like, oh, maybe this is a good question, but no, Val knew it right away.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the DeLuise brother, David DeLuise, played Father Jerry Russo, father of Selena Gomez's character, Alex Russo, in the Wizards of Waverly Place TV show that was aired in like the early 2010s. Yeah, so that's all I've got for you guys for my trivia questions, and I think for our trivia section. After that, we have IMDb Deep Dive, and I'll throw this one to Val first. What do you have for our IMDb Deep Dive?
So a couple of random things, mostly about like people who were considered for different roles but did not ultimately get the role. One I thought was interesting was Emma Stone was considered for the lead female role, like Molly's role. She ended up having to, or I think she actually was like going to be that role, but she had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts with the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man. So she ended up not being in, which actually I can perfectly see her in this role. Like I think she could definitely work in this role. So like I like that. A few
Proven
other
chemistry with
I was
Jonah
gonna say,
Hill.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So like that I feel like would have been a good like alternate casting option. And then also a bunch of other people who also auditioned for the role of Molly, Jennifer Lawrence, Juno Temple, Julianne Hough, and Gemma Ward all wanted that role as well. Which I think is like, I do think that Brie Larson ended up being like the best choice for it just because she had that kind of like nonchalant vibe in it. But it is kind of shocking that like she kind of won out over all these other great actresses. But yeah, that's what I had for that role specifically. I also had your point, Connor, about Jonah Hill writing Captain Dixon with Ice Cube in mind. Like I think like just perfect. And then lastly, I had that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg did uncredited rewrites on the script. And I think it's just kind of funny that like that, it's so funny like how like certain people are just like all friends in Hollywood and like they will like help each other out on different scripts and stuff. So I think like that was like a funny little thing that like, of course, Seth Rogen had his hand in this somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like that writing team and then the directors of this, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, I feel like they do a lot of like punch ups and touch ups of scripts a lot for these types of movies. And I mean, and it shows because those two teams produce so much gold. So that's a really, I had no idea about them having a little hand in the script punch up. It's very cool. Connor, how about you? What do you got for your IMDb deep dive?
So I considered putting this into trivia, but it's definitely better fitting in IMDb deep dive. The girl in Eric's crew, in the Cool Kids crew, the character Lisa was played by Lindsay Broad. She played Kathy in The Office.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Who tried to steal Jim away from Pam.
Yes.
And then that was my original note for this. And then I realized Ellie Kemper plays the teacher in this. And both Kathy and Aaron, whose actresses Ellie Kemper and Lindsay Broad are in this movie, they both played characters in The Office that replaced Pam in some way. Erin replaced Pam at reception when she leaves for the Michael Scott Paper Company. And Kathy replaces Pam in sales when she goes on maternity leave in season 8. So they were both featured in this movie before appearing in The Office, and they both played characters in The Office that took over a role that was played by Pam.
That's
I
funny.
thought that was
Great.
pretty interesting.
Lisa did look familiar, but I thought it was just because of me seeing this movie a million times. That's a great
That's what
pull.
I
She
thought
was in The
too.
Office.
Yeah, she had two scenes that were instead of being a background character, she's the one who asks Jonah Hill if him and his brother are even related because he's weird, and then she's also the girl at the end of the movie who pops out of the top of the limo and gets her bottle shot.
Yeah.
Those were her two big scenes in this
Yes.
movie, and then within a year she was appearing on The Office.
Awesome. Great deep dive. Before I go into mine, I did want to circle back to what Val was saying about the Brie Larson casting. Interesting that her and Emma Stone were two of the people for that, given just they went on to win Academy Awards, and Brie has one, Emma has at least two
Yeah.
now. They've absolutely crushed it. Also interesting she won at that point. I mean, I think Brie did a great job in the role, but Emma Stone probably had some more proven comedy chops, I feel like, at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But really interesting people that had kind of been up for that role, and also a very 2012 list of actresses.
Yep.
And Jennifer Lawrence too. I'm like, wow.
Yep.
And then so kind of jumping to my IMDb deep dive. I don't know if I assume you guys would have picked this person out, but maybe not. But Joe Crest, who played Jonah Hill's father. So I've been seeing him a ton now, and
Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, he is Ted Wheeler, Mike Wheeler's dad from Stranger Things. And like, I've seen this dude a million times for 9 years on Stranger Things, and for some reason he's just clicking that I'm seeing him everywhere. Because literally the other week I was watching, what was it? Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, very long title, with my wife, who was just on TV. And there's a part where Katniss's character is meeting up with some soldiers, and he randomly plays some like decked out, I think resistance or rebellion soldier, and he's like in a very serious role, no glasses, looks pretty tough. And I'm like, Ted Wheeler. I'm like, you're like a glasses like
what are you doing here?
Father. I'm like, why are you in the Mockingjay? So like he popped up. I'm like, holy shit, it's Ted Wheeler in 21 Jump Street, and I've never pieced this together. So yeah, Joe Crest, and I went through his kind of a bunch of filmography, and I could read you off all the random stuff he's been in. But he's been in a bunch of movies like Aaron Brockovich, The Ring, The Aviator, Ocean's 13. In The Blind Side, he was the Clemson coach, Secretariat, and like I said, Hunger Games, all these, like so many more that I'm not even going to go over because I could just be talking about it forever. But yeah, my IMDb deep dive, Joe Crest, Ted Wheeler from Stranger Things was also another father character in this, and it seems weird that like based on his credits, it's a lot of he's either someone's dad or he's like in the army, which I don't understand that duality, but that's kind of Joe Crest for you.
That's his bread and butter.
Apparently,
he's a classic that guy.
Yes.
Where it's like I didn't even know his name until looking it up after this, but I see him, I recognize his face, see him in everything. He's in a lot, but yeah, I don't really know him.
For sure.
That's fun.
And before we head into the next category too, just to kind of tag it onto this one, just to plug some of the other cast members that were kind of side characters. You had DeRay Davis, Domingo, leader of the One Percenters. Dax Flame was Zach, who was one of the nerds that befriends Greg. I believe he was the main one that kind of helps him study for the first time and speaks French to him in the one scene when Channing Tatum tells him that he was in school, held back in school in France. And Channing Tatum is like, yeah, I have no fucking idea what you're saying.
Nice to meet you, too.
Yeah, nice to meet you, too. Chris Parnell, Mr. Gordon, the drama teacher. Chris Parnell of SNL fame and also various bit roles in various franchises and movies. Like we said, Ellie Kemper, Miss Griggs, the science teacher. Jake Johnson of New Girl fame, one of our personal favorites, as Principal Dadier, Dadier. Don't know how to pronounce that. I'm gonna guess that's how you say it. And
I think it was Dadier. I think the only time it was said
is that a play on Daddy?
When Rob Riggle chirps at him during the play.
So we got Jake Johnson in about 2 scenes there. Legendary Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec. I say legendary because we're Parks and Rec's fans. But he is Deputy Chief Hardy that has his one scene. And then we had a couple of the cameos from the original 21 Jump Street. Johnny Pemberton was Delroy, one of Janko's nerdy friends. He pops in a couple things that Chris Miller and Phil Lord end up doing, like Son of Zorn. And we also had Caroline Aaron, who was Schmidt's mom, who also you might recognize as Joel's mom from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
That's what I was gonna say after we
Oh, sorry.
highlighted Ted Wheeler as the father,
Oh, okay.
that the mother from Miss Maisel. And I think I watched all of Miss Maisel in between my last viewing of 21 Jump Street and this one, so I was shocked to see her as
Yes.
Schmidt's mom in this movie.
Yes. And then I think we also touched, or you might have touched upon it, but Dakota Johnson has a small role as well. And I feel like these are the couple years that she was starting to kind of start to take off, because I know eventually we want to talk about The Social Network. I think that might be planned down the line. But like late 2010, she had a one scene role in that. Year and a half later, she has, a small role in this as well. So she's starting to kind of get some traction in the acting world. But now, obviously, a much bigger name, but she pops up in here as well. After our deep dives, we have optimum viewing experience. So I'll start this one off. For optimum viewing experience, we do what is the best way to watch this movie? So that could be alone, with others, at home, movie theater, so on. For me, I kind of had both at home and in theaters, because it's a great movie theater experience. I feel like you get a good crowd laughing at everything. But now they've had so many years post-release, us watching it so much at home, it's a really good at-home movie, I think. I feel like it's a great one to stumble upon if you're flipping through cable or you throw on with family. It's just always going to make me laugh. So I think right now I actually lean the best viewing experience choices at home for this movie.
I've got to agree. I think at home with a bunch of people who are going to pay attention to the movie and just laugh along is the best way to view it. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure that I saw this in theaters. So I have memories of everyone laughing at certain parts in the theaters, but I could just be making those up. But yeah, my answer would have to be probably your parents' house, sitting on the floor, watching this with our siblings and just laughing our asses off. Yep. This is a classic.
I totally agree with you, Connor, except that I think that you don't need to watch it with a group of people that want to pay attention. That's my only difference, is that I think that this movie actually plays like where it's like, what do we watch? Like, what do we put on TV? We want to put something on in the background. I think most people, like, especially most people our age group, like, have already seen this movie a million times, and it is a good one to put on in the background. And like, I think we actually put this on at my house with friends over like a couple months ago, and we were like playing a game. We weren't really watching, but then it's like you said earlier, Matthew, it's like sometimes you'll like lock in for a second, everyone will watch for like 5 minutes and like die laughing, and then you go back to the game and like don't pay attention. I think like that is the perfect. I just like having it on in the background.
Absolutely.
It's a laugh a minute. You can miss 90% of the movie, look over your shoulder, and you'll find something that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. That's a great point too, because even now that you're saying this, Val and Connor, you're jogging my memory of certain scenes of the movie, like even parts that are more intended to be more serious or develop characters and move the plot along. Like I think of the scene when Schmidt goes to drama class the first time, and he's talking to Brie Larson and trying to figure out how to get a hold of the drug, and they're doing some important plot stuff, just talking. But in the background, you hear Chris Parnell, their drama teacher, just saying stuff, like talking, and he's talking about like doing cocaine with Willie Nelson's horse, and like doing started up in New York in drama, but in upstate New York, Albany, and then also talking about like he's like utters the phrase at one point that like Jonah Hill might have a little Peter in him after all, like Peter Pan, that they're auditioning. So just his throwaway sidelines, you could the point of the scene, that current dialogue is like to advance the plot a little bit, but he's just saying stuff in the background that's going to make you laugh. So you literally can tune in at any point and catch this stuff, and you'll get a laugh out of it. So I think the laugh a minute is a great way to describe that, Connor. Our next category, a new one that we've recently added, is describe a movie plot poorly. So a one sentence terrible description of a movie. I don't know, maybe Connor, you wanted to start us off with what you might have for this one.
Yeah, I've got one. It's a very specific take on the movie, but I've got a mid-20s loser fakes his identity, goes back to high school, risks his career and his life to seduce a high schooler and be popular.
That's really good. That is, yes.
That's perfect.
Seduce a high schooler and be popular, yes.
It's certainly a narrow view of this movie.
But accurate. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
In a nutshell, that is Jonah Hill's plot.
Mhm.
I went like a different route, like almost like making this out to be like a like drama, like whatever.
Mm.
So I said a heartfelt story about identity, acceptance, and learning to embrace change alongside your best friend.
Ooh,
I
very
love
nice.
that opposite take to that different approach. That's
Yeah.
great. I didn't even think of doing that. Mine's a little more bare bones than both of yours, and pretty succinct, but I have two cops commit crimes with kids to take down a motorcycle gang.
Love
Ooh.
it.
While watching this, I'm like,
Solid.
they do a lot of things they shouldn't be doing, like just supplying them with drugs and minors with drugs and alcohol, stealing stuff from
Yes.
evidence lockup, all this kind of stuff.
Potentially dating a minor.
Yeah, but which they do. They've specified, or Brie Larson's character does specify later that she's 18 before they kiss.
Oh,
So that
okay.
always
The
bugs me
movie
too.
goes out of its way
Yeah,
to tell
Yeah.
you she's 18.
like, this is technically
Yeah.
allowed. It's only a little creepy.
Yes.
Which I also do want to say, and I'll probably mention it later. They say, they specify the main events take place 7 years after they graduate high school, which would put them at 25. But then they make a joke about Channing Tatum's character Janko being held back 2 years in high school, so that firmly puts him at 27-ish years old, going back to high school. I have comments about him looking super old that I want to say for later, but I wanted to kind of plug that in with them just being older than everyone and interacting with all these minors the whole time. Next up, we have favorite quote. And for this category, I'll throw it to Val first for your favorite quote or quotes.
Okay, so I have a few, and on this category, as I was watching this movie, I realized, like normally I would have not noticed this, but I realized that there was like a lot of swearing and words that like I wouldn't maybe feel comfortable repeating on our podcast, which is kind of funny because like anytime I'm like with my friends or like watching this movie, like it never even occurred to me like how many like inappropriate like phrases and quotes and stuff are in here until I realized that I would be repeating it and putting this out there into the internet. But you know, I'm gonna do it anyways because who cares? It's they're not like that bad. Obviously, everyone's seen the movie. But first one is the principal, which I don't know if we determined how to pronounce his last name, Principal Daddier or however you say it.
Daddier.
Daddier.
Daddier. Maybe it's French.
Daddier.
Daddier. Yeah.
But the principal, which is Jake Johnson, after the kids get into the fight in the parking lot, like right when they get in on the first day, and they are like explaining what's happening, the principal's telling them that like you're gonna get expelled if you do this again. And he goes, I am one more black gay kid getting punched in the face away from a nervous breakdown. I think that might be like my number one for the whole movie. It is that quote is so funny, and it's not even like the quote itself. It's like it's Jake Johnson's delivery of it. Like he has the best line delivery. Like obviously throughout all of New Girl, like he is just so funny to me, and I'm obsessed with the way that he delivered that.
And the fact that he says one more, does that indicate it's already happened? Like, does this keep happening at the school?
Yeah, it's like what's happening here?
Sentence.
Then another one that I had, actually, I have two more quick ones that were from Ice Cube, Captain Dixon. Another one that I was like, as I heard this, I was like, this is one of my favorite quotes, but I was like, I really don't want to say this, but alas, I'm gonna say it anyways.
Go for it.
When Schmidt and Janko first get to 21 Jump Street, and I think like I can't remember how it even got brought up, but basically Schmidt's like, oh, like I know we look like a couple of lady killers, and then Ice Cube goes, clearly I wasn't talking to you, big titties, you cherub looking motherfucker. I think the cherub looking motherfucker is like the funniest thing I've ever heard. So that line killed me. And then lastly, another Ice Cube Captain Dixon quote is when they're giving him a progress update, and they have like the whole like chart on the wall with like the yarn and everything, and Ice Cube goes, who made this? Are you autistic? And Schmidt goes, it is artistic, sir. That's all I had for the quotes.
I really wonder if those were written by Jonah Hill or if those were improvs. Like I would love to find out. I almost
wonder if that's a little improv. I feel like that's on the spot.
It has to be.
That's so good.
So I have different ones, thankfully. We didn't have to step on each other's material. I don't know if I'm about to step on any of Matthew's,
It's okay,
but
go for
I
it.
have Chris Parnell when they're in the theater practice. He says, "You never won't know what you can't achieve before you don't achieve it." And Schmidt just does a confused face. That kills me. I love Chris Parnell. Everything he says is hilarious, but that one really made me laugh out loud in my living room watching this by myself. And then Eric to Schmidt after the track meet, and he's like, "Oh, like you disrupting that was awesome." He goes, "Organized sports are so fascist, it makes me sick." That one is unbelievable. He's so funny in this movie. And my number one was Schmidt's mom after the house party when she says, "I partied with Robert Downey Jr. before he got sober, when he was really fucked up and a lot of fun." That's my favorite. That's my number one from this movie.
I loved that you mentioned all those. So the first one, I don't think I caught. So that's a great catch there. The other two are ones that just like, I want to talk about these, but they were just in a wall of like 300 quotes on my Google Doc and prep with this pod. I'm so glad you mentioned
Yeah.
those.
This was tough to narrow
Oh,
down to
it's
three. I
so
had,
hard.
like
It
you said, I
was.
had a
Yeah,
full 3 pages of quotes from
yeah,
this movie.
definitely. I have a bunch. I'm narrowing to three, maybe with one honorable mention, and I kind of went with three that I've always really loved. So I stuck to the ones that have just stuck with me for almost 14 years at this point, because this March will
Hmm.
be 14 years somehow since this movie was released. But in no particular order, my first one is when they're showing up for the party at Eric's house, and Schmidt's talking to Eric, and Schmidt's like, "Wow, so your parents are just cool with you having people over whenever?" And he goes, "You're so lucky your parents don't give a shit about you." And then Eric's like, "Yup," like sadly trails off, and you can
Yeah,
tell like he's
Eric's
just like
face.
so sad. That's always just stuck out to me and makes me laugh all the time. My second one would have to be when they first show up to school, first day, and they're in the parking lot and they confront the cool kids and they're talking to them, and the one friend comes up and says, "Hey," he's like, "Can you guys be quiet? I'm trying to study over here." Like, it's like, "Shut the hell up! I'm trying to study over here." And then Janko punches him in the face, and then he makes a comment about like derogatorily says something about being gay that he's doing, I think studying, and the kid goes, "You punched me because I'm gay?" And he goes, "No, I punched him, and he happened to turn out to be gay afterwards."
I was gay before you punched me.
Yes. That's always killed me. And then the other one that is probably might be my favorite like set of quotes from this. It's when Schmidt. So this might be a little bit of a loophole. It's kind of a couple quotes chunked in together, but it's when Schmidt and Janko are preparing for their party. They're at Schmidt's house, and they go into Evan's lockup, and they're trying to find drugs for the party. And they're like trying, just like they're getting the drugs, and they go, "We have a pound of coke," and he goes, "We're trying to show them a good time, not ruin their fucking lives." And it was pound of marijuana, best party ever. Like that always
Sorry.
cracks me up. And then I want to say real quick before we head into our made into the vernacular subsection, another thing that my honorable mention was when Schmidt and Janko are in the bathroom at school, just taking the drugs, and they're trying to like make each other throw up because they don't want to get high off this stuff. And I think Schmidt goes, "Let's try fingering each other's mouths." Just that like line and wording.
Yeah.
The janitor watching that all happen too.
Yes, yes, so good. And I think I might plug that scene a little bit later too, but that was my honorable mention for sure.
Very nice.
Yes, great set of quotes. As I just mentioned, a part of this section too is our made it into the vernacular category or subcategory, and for this, these are quotes, lines, whatever that have either made it into popular culture or really more specifically for us, things that made it into our own personal vernacular. So things that we've just quoted over the years, used regularly, maybe not even a joking sense, whatever it be, things just that we, kind of use all the time. And for this, we will go to Val first.
So I did, there's probably more, but I did one specific thing came to mind, and it's just like a stupid throwaway line. But Schmidt and Eric are talking. I don't even remember the context of it, but Eric goes, "Ja feel," and Schmidt goes, Yes, John definitely feel. This is something that I say this with my husband, I say this with my friends, where it's like we'll always just it's like a quick little thing, like a little bit that like I always do with like my friends and family. It's just like Ja feel, and it's like Ja definitely feel.
I knew it. You were
You
gonna
knew
say
it.
that. Yeah. For people that watch this back and watch the visual or the video of this, you'll see my reaction because that's literally top of my list. I
Yep.
say that all the time.
Me
I
too.
say it to my
Yeah,
family,
weekly.
yes, and they'll know it. And I think I say it to my wife Alyssa, and she just takes it in stride and just thinks it's a whatever phrase. She might not realize it's from this movie, but I say it to her all the time. Oh my god, yes,
Yeah.
I had forgotten that it was from this movie. I say that so much, and
I
I
know. I
forgot
always
where its
say
yeah,
it.
origin.
yes, definitely. No, that's a great made into the vernacular. So then I'll springboard off of that since that was at the top of my list. And then I actually have four more because they are just common things that like I've just either quote or have like said. So the first one is actually I made it into the vernacular for my dad because he says this all the time in reference to the movie, but 90% of the time just out of pocket. It could be something completely unrelated, and he's saying this phrase, but it's the quote or it's the part where they're back at the 20 and Jump Street, and Schmidt and Janko are just not doing a good job. They haven't got any busts or anything yet. And the two cheerleader cops, the two women, they keep coming back with more things, and they're kind of roasting them. And the non-Dakota Johnson cop says, she goes, "Meanwhile, you two are standing around, finger popping each other's assholes," and just random. And my dad says it all the time. I'm like, Dad, why are you just saying finger popping each other's assholes to me, your adult son? Stop saying this.
You're like, lower your voice, Dad. We're in
Like,
public.
no, like, thank God we're at home. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, it's funny, but I don't, why since out of context? This makes no sense.
It's like catchy though.
It is, yeah. And the way she delivers it is so good too.
Yeah.
It makes it even
And the
funnier.
way Jonah Hill says it back too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I had to give my dad a little vernacular shout out there because I've been hearing that phrase for 14 years now, for better or for worse. But you're so lucky your parents don't give a shit about you. I just say randomly because I think it's so funny. And then the pound of coke, pound of marijuana, I'll just randomly quote to my brother sometimes. It's so funny. And then the other thing I just would randomly say a lot because I was stuck in my head was, "You two sons of bitches are going to college."
Those are
Love
great.
those.
Yep.
Those are great. I think Ja definitely feel is probably the number one. I think we all say that,
Yeah.
if not daily, easily weekly. That is truly a part of the vernacular forever now.
For sure. How about you, Connor? Do you have anything else, or was the jaw feel also
I don't have anything that I say as much as Ja definitely feel.
No, sounds good. Moving along, we'll head into best use of music in this movie. And I know I have a few examples, and they probably will overlap with what you guys have. So I will let you guys go first. I don't know if Connor, if you want to kick this one off.
Yeah, sure. So we do get two eras in this movie. There's the very brief part of the beginning of the movie that's set in, was it 2006?
2005.
2005, okay. So there's the 2005 brief portion of the movie, and then there's the 2012. And I think there's a single song that encapsulates those eras perfectly. We have Slim Shady in the 2005 portion, dates the movie to that era. It's hilarious. It's a great needle drop right in the beginning. And then in the 2012, I think Party Rock Anthem just perfectly encapsulates 2012 party vibes. So I think they did a really good job picking the songs that identified the era. I'm sure Party Rock might be on both of your guys' lists, but I'll let you guys share your list now.
Yeah, I had the same too. I think that the Slim Shady intro was like is that is the number one for me. Like that is the best use of music in this movie. Also another random piece of trivia that I'll just throw in here because it like applies to the Slim Shady is that Jonah Hill actually looked like that in high school. Like they played off of like how he loved Eminem and like actually dressed and looked like that and his hair looked like that. So I think that is just like hilarious that that's like actually the essence of a high school Jonah Hill. in that Slim Shady intro. But yeah, Party Rock Anthem, great, perfectly like sums up 2012, the vibe of 2012. And
For
then
sure.
lastly, I had that I like that they put Straight Outta Compton in, a little Ice Cube shout out
Yeah.
Mhm.
when Schmidt is like actually like working with Eric and like effectively like infiltrating his setup. I thought that was a nice little touch. So that's what I had.
Yep. I had the exact same three as
Yep.
those. So great picks. Very biased, but great picks. Like you'd said, Connor, the real Slim Shady, perfect opening, especially because of what Val said too. The nod to Jonah Hill's actual high school appearance, puts us really well into the 2005 time period. Love the Straight Outta Compton nod, and then I think the real Slim Shady was like the best use of music, but Party Rock Anthem is my personal favorite because, like Connor said, great party kind of song in 2012. And I might have shared the story with you guys before off the pod, but it's funny that is that party song because it also was like my unofficial 2011 junior prom song. The
I was gonna ask.
one of my friends in my limo who was in charge of like the prom limo playlist had Party Rock Anthem, and it was really big at the time. Like I think it was in like a Kia Soul commercial that year. Like it was
Mhm.
everywhere, and it was a great song. So it was on the playlist, but then he also just kept playing it over and over again in the limo. So it was like Party Rock Anthem, some other song, Party Rock Anthem. That like squarely puts me into the 2011, 2012, and a high school like mindset. So that was my personal favorite like needle drop in that movie. Up next, uh favorite scene. I don't know if Val, you want to go first.
Yeah. So I had a lot of quotes that I did not put in like my favorite quote, and then I realized that they were all from this one same scene. So I
Mhm.
kind of just shifted that over to favorite scene. And it's basically the entire sequence of when they take the drug and then when they're talking to Rob Riggle's
Mhm.
character, I think it's like, what is it, Mr. Walters,
Mr.
when they're
Walters.
talking to him and they're like tripping, like basically from like going to the bathroom, trying to throw up, being caught in the hallway late for class, gonna get read up by Mr. Walters. But basically, how I feel about Rob Riggle is how I feel about Jane Lynch, where it's like anything he says is perfect. The way he delivers every single line is perfect. Like I love him. He's so funny to me. When when he's talking to them about how he's going to basically like write them up for being late for class, and he just gets distracted by Jenko's muscle tone like mid sentence.
Yeah.
He's like wow, he's like, you have
Whoa.
exceptional muscle tone,
Yeah.
young man. When did you go through puberty, like 7 or something? So like that whole scene, and then he puts his like when Schmidt puts his tongue out and he's like, I don't like that, put your tongue back in your mouth.
And he physically pushes the tongue
And
back
then
in his mouth.
Jenko, what was that?
He physically pushes his tongue back into his
Yes,
mouth.
he literally puts his tongue back in his mouth, and then like Jen goes over there doing like another little tongue trip, and he's like, "Actually, that's kind of impressive."
That's kind of impressive.
and then, and then, like the ice cream melting, all the little effects and stuff that they did in that scene is so funny. I really love like that whole scene when he's like, God damn, don't put your hand up. I take that as a threat. He like freaks out when he like puts his hand up. It's so funny. Like that whole
Which, yeah, he
sequence,
puts his hand
hilarious.
up and is offended by the hand being put up, and then 10 seconds later, he's sticking his fingers in his mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that whole scene, that's my favorite scene by far. Like I love the effects, I just love the way that they went about like that whole scene. It was really funny.
That's a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite scene is the driver's ed car chase. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's hilarious. I think it's really well directed. The chase, they do a good job with the action, and it's just very funny. The choice of using a driver's ed car is so good for the conflict between the two of them, where
Yes.
they can interfere with each other driving. I thought that was so funny, and this is also the whole non-explosions gag, where we have the propane truck, the oil and fuel tanker are the non-explosions, and then the chicken truck, and they throw a that's what exploded. I thought that was so good.
It was
It
phenomenal.
aged super well. I like we've seen this movie so many times that still makes me laugh so hard every time that the trucks don't explode and the tension builds. That's so perfect.
For me, for favorite scene, I had I was struggling between four. I only discussed one, but my four were the first day of school parking lot scene with the follow up in the principal's office, the party prep sequence, first day of classes, AP chemistry and drama class, and then the bathroom scene in the middle of that. I I think that whole sequence of that scene of going to AP chemistry, going to drama class, the trip in the middle, and then them tripping in class after. I guess I don't know if that's a kind of a cheat to like put that together as one scene because all like flows together, but I think that is just such
Yeah,
a
we'll
like
count it.
yeah, perfect. Thanks, guys. um, there's everything about that's so good because it's so funny, but it's also so good for the story. It introduces you to them being in school, all these new relationships and characters and people. They,
Mhm.
you know, take the drugs and everything. They meet Mr. Walters while doing it, and that propels the plot forward to Schmidt doing track. That other thing with him sabotaging that, you know, with the baton penis is so funny. And then that wins over the cool kids that Eric likes him, so he's in with them. And then Janko goes back to AP chemistry, and he's just writing on the chalkboard or on the whiteboard. And then he crashes the band practice or whatever. And I also loved him writing on the whiteboard when they cut to it. It's just 100 fours. It just covered to the
Yeah.
number four and nothing else. And I just that whole sequence is so good. And also it ends too with Schmidt winning over the role of Peter Pan in the play. So that brings him and Molly closer, and that helps set up the stuff for later at the end when he's in the musical and everything. So like I think so much pivotal stuff happened, and so much was funny with
Yeah.
that scene that I think.
Mhm.
And then also you have the bathroom scene in the middle of that where they're trying to make each other throw up. So that'd be and so there's that as well. So I think just everything about that extended sequence scene is by far my favorite. I love that chunk of the movie.
No, it's a really good point too, because it isn't just silly gags. It really does push the story forward. Like there's multiple things that progress the story as well as being hilarious. It wasn't just a
Mhm.
montage of silly moments.
Right. Absolutely. That brings us to our next category, which is aged like milk or aged like wine. So for this, as we mentioned in a previous episode, this is our Rewatchables podcast shout out. Big fans and take inspiration of the Rewatchables podcast, and their version is what aged the worst and aged the best. So for us, milk aged the worst, wine aged the best. What do you guys have for aged like milk? What do you have, Val?
For aged like milk, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about like how Molly's character like was 18 technically, but like I'm over like the like age gap like relationships in movies
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, like especially when it's like with someone who's like very young. Like I'm
Yeah.
just like, to me that, oh, that is like not something that I think should be like regularly like put in like normalized in movies, and it really is, especially when it's not like they don't make any point to say that that's like in a like they make a little point to say like
Mhm.
don't like sleep with a student or whatever, but it's like they don't really make a point to say like how inappropriate it is for like an undercover cop who is like well into his like mid 20s to be like hitting on dating a 17/18-year-old girl. So like I don't know, like I'm kind of like sick of that. Like I think it's like unnecessary. Like it almost feels like the 21 Jump Street like could have just like started in college to begin with, or they could have been younger. Like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I feel like it's not a big deal, and like but I also just feel like that doesn't need to be in movies like anymore. Like I'm kind of
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's a tough beat in general, especially with real life examples. And with this movie too, it's not
Yeah,
like it's a 10-year age gap from like 35 to 25. Like she's literally still in high school. There's a bit
Yeah.
exactly.
of creepiness to it on top of it, more creepy than it
Yeah,
would be anyways, but you know what I mean?
and
And
also it's
age
like,
gap aside, it's power dynamic too.
yes,
Like
that's what I
he's a
was just about to
cop.
say.
True. Yeah, literally a
Yeah,
cop.
yeah, and also it's like it's not only like like that's kind of like aside from my point, but it's like
Mhm.
also like he's not only a cop and he's not only older, but he's also like fully like lying to her
Yeah.
for like how I think they were there for like a month or whatever. Like the whole time he knew
30
her, he was
days.
lying to her, and it's like, oh, everything's fine. Like he saved her life. Like they can end up together. Like I just feel like that is, I know they're probably not together long because like I know in 22 Jump Street like they're
Yeah.
not together. So it's like it clearly didn't last long, but it's like
Right.
that's why I'm like, why did it have to end like with them getting together? I know it was just played for laughs, and for him to have his like little happy high school ending that he always
True.
wanted and never had in high school. So like I
Mhm.
get it. It
Mhm.
makes sense. I'm just like I'm so sick and tired of like stuff
Oh,
like
I
that
get
being in
you.
movies, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same thing, just with the addition of the student teacher relationship that's going on.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Miss Griggs, Ellie Kemper's character, is like so infatuated with Brad, Channing
Immediately.
Tatum's character. Again, just a really weird dynamic. I feel like it adds comedy, but it's a trope that's just
Hmm.
unneeded.
Yeah.
But then I did look it up, and although they're playing these different ages in the movie, I mean, they are actors that are acting. Channing Tatum is 6 days older than Ellie Kemper.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought that
Oh,
was
that's
they're
funny.
almost exactly the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
age, which adds just a little bit of I think just a little bit of comedy to it. But
Mhm.
again, we have two sets of fairly inappropriate
Right.
relationship
Yeah.
dynamics in this movie
Mhm.
between a adult man and a high schooler, and between a teacher and a high schooler.
Right.
So
Yeah.
two sides of the
Mhm.
same coin there.
It's interesting you mentioned looking at their ages and that they're quite literally the same exact age, because I did think about in the movie, because it's creepy from the fact where she is very obviously and clearly infatuated to what she thinks is a high school student, when in reality, in the
Mhm.
context of the movie, like in that movie world, he's really like 27-ish, if my movie math is correct. So there's a very
Yeah,
good chance that she could be like around the same age. So, once she would
exactly.
find that out, it would obviously be completely fine. But her thinking he's in high school,
Yes.
still
Yes.
thinking, feeling, and acting that way, I'm like, oh, Ellie Kemper, Mrs. Griggs,
Yeah.
that's weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
The lie plays two different ways in both
yeah,
scenarios, and
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
they're both inappropriate.
exactly. Very good. Aged like milk. Do you guys have anything else for that before I share my take?
No.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check. But yeah, for my aged like milk, I had two things that kind of overlap. Both relate to social media, so definitely a lot less serious than your guys' points there. But one is Ice Cube calls it, and he's talking about hearing rumblings of like them throwing a party. And he was out in the Twitter sphere, and I'm like, not called Twitter anymore.
That's good.
And then related, tangential, when Molly and Schmidt are talking on the phone, and Schmidt's like, "Hey, we're gonna throw a party," and Molly's like, "Great, like I'm gonna. Do you mind if I like post it on Facebook to like invite people?" Or however she phrases it. And I go, posting publicly about parties on Facebook is a very 2012 thing. People don't
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that anymore. Now we have a specific event tab to invite people to parties
Mhm.
like individually and privately. So I thought that was funny. Like, oh yeah, I'm like, people used to do that, and if people do that now, it comes across as really weird and unfortunately sad. But yeah, that's not something that people do anymore, posting party invites publicly on their Facebook wall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely
if they
ages it.
did do that, it could potentially be a Project X situation. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely don't need to be having that nowadays.
right, exactly.
That's great though.
Yeah, another great 2012 movie. But yes.
Yes.
So then Ages Like Milk. So now we're on to Ages Like Wine. What did you guys have for what aged really well in this movie? Throw it back to you first, Val.
So for what aged like wine, I had the overall like shift in values of young people and like
Mm-hmm.
kids, because I think that like this movie was like I'm sure there's others, I just can't think of them off the top of my head, but to me this is like the first time that I have seen like an awareness to like the value change of kids, like thinking of like Eric and his friend group for example. It's like they care about the environment, like they're like very like multifaceted. Like he
Yeah.
not only cares about the environment and is like he got accepted to Berkeley, but like he also is like a drug dealer, and he's like it's like kind of funny just like
Mm-hmm.
how like kids in this movie can be like many things. It's like
Very
they can be
layered.
like a band geek. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Where it's like that's how kids are today. I think like they
Sure.
no longer like fall into those buckets and they of like jock and nerd. And it's like, yeah, some people still do, don't get me wrong. But I think like they really like explain this like change in like normal like high school roles really well in this movie. And it's almost like a good movie to like bridge that like transition into like movies that came after it, where it's like, okay, like they so clearly are like having characters who are more stand for things and are more sensitive and more multifaceted, whatever. So like I do think like that like very much like aged well. And it's like I thought it was like funny how they went about introducing it too, with like Jenko's rules for high school, and like all of them being wrong because they all
Yeah.
change. Where it's like
Yeah.
even just down to like the 2-strap versus 1-strap on the book
Yes.
bag. It's like punch whoever in the face. It's like all of his rules backfired. Like don't be like being an asshole is like not
Mhm.
cool. So
That quick
I thought
reversal.
that was that's what I have for that.
I had a
Love it.
very similar age like wine there, just with how the cool has been redefined. It's not that
Yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s, old school bully is the cool one. And I highlighted the list of the stereotypes that we see in the 2012 showing up the high school scene.
Mhm.
They were like, oh, there are the goths, there are the nerds, and then there, I don't know what they are, and it's like clearly a hipster looking crowd.
He's like, what the fuck are
Then
those?
there's like the anime clip, the
Oh yeah.
anime click, and they're like, "What the fuck are those things?" Like the panda backpacks and the
Yeah.
crazy hair.
Mhm.
And then there was a quote a little bit later on in the movie, um, said by Schmidt, where he says, describing the cool kids, he said, liking comic books is popular, environmental awareness, being tolerant. He was like, if I was just born 10 years later, I would have been the coolest kid. I thought that was really funny, and I thought it did highlight really well how cool has changed. And Matthew, I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
because you were a high school senior when this movie came out, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So I was a little younger in high school. Val was on that cusp of middle school into high school. So I wanted to ask you, did that feel accurate? Even rewatching this now, did it feel fairly accurate, or was it kind of played up a little more for laughs as to
Mhm.
the clicks when you
Mhm.
were a high school senior?
Oh, absolutely. This was 110% accurate, and you both had touched upon what I wanted to talk about the age so well. And to answer your question, Connor, I remember, so yeah, like we said, this came out March 2012. That was the spring of my senior year. So I'm, 2 to 3 months away from graduating high school.
Hmm.
And I'm watching this, and it's hilarious in general, but part of the hilarity was how unbelievably accurate it was. Because you go from like, I know we talked about like role models and some other movies that we really love that came out in 2008, 2009, that was at the beginning of my 4 years of high school. And those movies were operated a certain way. You take that shift from role models and the type of humor and jokes and certain stereotypes and things in there, and you go 4 years in the future, 2012 to 21 Jump Street, and how they go about certain stereotypes and jokes and tropes and things, how those changed. It reflected that change so well. So being at that point in high school, I remember like the intermingling of social groups and what was cool and what
Hmm.
wasn't. I remember, yeah, we had our popular kids, but part of why they were popular and cool was because they were just like really good, likable people. Because I remember some of the people that were considered, the most popular in my grade, and they were just good people. They were good dudes. They were good, women. They were just very nice, and they also were just like involved in so many different things. Like I can think of some of my friends that were, sure, they were a stereotypical jock and they're really good at their one or two varsity sports, but they also were in all AP classes. And they also were
Hmm.
like a prominent member of the band and played an instrument, were really good at that. So all these layers, they're multifaceted, like Val was saying, all those norms and everything was shifting. Being tolerant was cool, which is
Yeah.
glad that there was that change. But Connor, I'm glad you used that line because I had that marked down too. Just him saying being tolerant, like that was so spot
Hmm.
on and made me laugh watching this. But yeah, no, I felt that I saw that in real time. So that was perfect timing for me to watch this movie for the first time in 2012. And then I also love that we talked about the two strapping of the backpack. I can
Yeah.
Yeah.
remember being in middle school and going there and be like, not that I was worried about being cool going to sixth grade, but you're going into middle school, you're 11, turning 12, you're at that age where you're becoming more aware of like social norms, the in groups, and wanting to be accepted by your peers and be quote unquote cool. And there's that shift from elementary school to middle school. And I remember one strapping it to school, like, oh, like I have to one strap. It's the cool way people do it. And my back had been so heavy, and I'm like, oh no, this hurts, but I gotta one strap it.
Yeah.
I can't two strap it. And then I can remember
You
that.
have back problems now because of that.
No, literally, that's why I got a slip disc in my back. But I can remember early high school still one strapping, and then carrying all my books to class. I didn't want to wear a backpack with my books in it in like ninth and 10th grade. But then by senior year, I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, I don't want to carry shit. It hurts to one
Yeah.
strap. I'm gonna wear a
Yeah.
backpack to class now, and I haven't done it ever. I'm two strapping. I'm two strapping to school, and I can remember thinking at college wearing a backpack. And now, if I go to work and I carry stuff in a backpack, I'm always two strapping it. It's way more efficient. it's just so
Oh
like
yeah.
unpractical to one strap. So like that
Yeah.
specific thing too just resonated so much with me then and now. But yeah, Connor, it was a perfect encapsulation and very timely for me being in high school at that age and seeing that shift. It was such an accurate representation of that. Next up, we have our Chicken Tendies Award.
I'm gonna run a train on these chicken fingers.
So the Chicken Tendies Award, as we've said in our previous episode, but I'll intro it again, is or goes to a bit, trope, one-liner, or really anything that is always great in a movie.
It hits every time, just like a basket of chicken tendies.
Every single time. So Connor, we will start with you for this one.
All right. I've got two for the Chicken Tendies Award. I have, just in general, party scenes. I'm a really big fan of a movie taking us to a party. I can't think of a party scene in a movie that I don't like. I think it's always funny. It's a lot of work for the director to get that many extras and whatnot, working together in the scene. But I think this movie does it really well. And then this one is probably my number one. This is the recipient of the Chicken Tendies Award for me. And it's a moment in a movie where something crazy happens and then everyone cheers at the exact same time when everyone's like, yeah, that is always funny. I've never seen it not work. It is my favorite trope. And it happens in this movie at the party scene where Schmidt finds out he's been stabbed in the back. And he's like, when did I get stabbed? That's awesome. And everyone cheers and goes nuts. That is my number one favorite.
That is a great Chicken Tendies Award nominee. I honestly don't know why I didn't think of that too. I love just that random collective, not random, but the unexpected, just collective cheering at something happening. It's always funny.
Yeah, 100%. I actually had the same one, Connor. I like put in quotes like when did I get stabbed? And then like even before that, it happens again, like a couple seconds before it, where I think he hits a vase over the guy's head and it knocks him out and he goes, "Oh shit." And then it's silent for a second, everyone goes, "Yeah." And then it happens again with the stab thing. So like those two sequences, like I love that. I'm completely agree. I think that it's like it pauses for a second, the reaction could go either way, but it's like then everyone just like cheers. Like that's I put that as my number one for sure. And then I also put just like a classic case of like switching identities. Like I think like switching an identity it's like a funny easy way to like complicate the plot, like create like some extra conflict, like create a challenge. Like I think I always like that one where it's like you accidentally mix up your identities and it just makes everything that they're trying to do more complicated. So I think like that hits like pretty much every time for me. Like I always like that one, but that's all I had for that.
No, definitely both great mentions. Surprisingly, I didn't have either of those. Usually we're pretty on par with each other. I have about three. Two are honorable mentions and one will be my winner. One Connor already mentioned previously of just about like the sequence in the movie where there was multiple times expected explosions to happen when cars and tankers and motorcycles are crashing, but they didn't. So anytime like there's fake out explosions where you expect them to explode and they don't, and then later on something unexpectedly explodes, like that kind of gag, that's always really good. My second honorable mention is just like the joke or the gag of like telling people they look old when they're trying to pass as young. And especially this movie with like them being in high school, Janko especially gets multiple comments of him just looking super old. At one point when Eric like wants to team up with them for protection before prom, and he just tells Janko's like, "You look like a fucking 40-year-old man." And then there's another part where when Janko first goes to AP chemistry and his classmate who becomes his friend just looks at him and goes, "You look really old." And, like just flat out just says that to his face. My true Chicken Tendies Award winner is just saying "fuck you" to random things. That always makes me laugh. And it's always just like random, unexpected, inanimate objects or just random things that not even like in the scene with them. And I have three examples of this from Janko, all in this movie from Channing Tatum's character. The first is when him and Jonah Hill are realizing high school is way different. And Jonah's talking about like being tolerant, how he'd be so cool now. And he's like, Channing Tatum's like, "Oh, I blame Glee. Fuck you, Glee." And then like the scene cuts to the next scene. Then when he's tripping hard on the holy fucking shit drug and he's charging into and messing up the band practice, and he just yells "fuck you, Miles Davis," like randomly just out Miles Davis, which I learned was he improvised that wasn't in the script.
That's so funny.
And then the last "fuck you" example I have is when he is also tripping and he writes all of the fours on the board. He turns around to the class, he goes, "fuck you, science." Like, my Chicken Tennies award goes to just saying "fuck you" to random things.
I love that.
That's great. To piggyback on your fuck yous, there's one more that you didn't mention.
Oh
And it's
no.
during the play when Doug comes out on the stage and there's the other Peter Pan.
Mhm.
Rob Riggle's character, the coach, is in the audience eating his Cool Ranch Doritos, and he yells, "Fuck you, Doug."
A classic. That leads us into our next award category, which is the Augie Farks Award. Augie Farks is a character name from the movie Role Models, which we covered in our first podcast. He's played by Christopher Missplasi in that movie. And this award is named after him because this will go to a character name in a movie that is like the perfect name for that character. It perfectly encapsulates who they are, and it's just the best name we feel like from that movie for one reason or another. So the Augie Farks Award is the best or great character name from a movie. And I'll kick off this category myself. I have 5 names in general that really popped off the page when reading names afterwards for this that I want to mention, and I'll select my favorite. But the 5 names that I really loved to be nominees for this award were Morton Schmidt, which was Jonah Hill's character. Just a great kind of like nerdy loser name, Morton Schmidt, perfect. We had Fugazi, who was the character name. It was billed for Dakota Johnson's character, just one word Fugazi. It makes no sense. We had Junior, which was Fugazi's partner, who uttered the great line of finger popping each other's assholes earlier in the movie. Her stage name is Rai, RYE-RYE. And she has a full name, but that's her stage name. So I wonder if that was some play on that. My 4th name is Billiam Willingham, and who was the kid who died from the drug in the opening of the movie, which kicked off this whole 21 Jump Street operation. Billiam Willingham, classic.
This kid rules.
This kid rules.
Ruled.
And then ruled. And then my 5th name was French Samuels, who was the student who played Jonah Hill's understudy in the Peter Pan play. And he was just an obnoxious theater kid. And French Samuels, just like his name being French, is perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Those are my top 5. And then my selection, they're really great names. I think I just really love Fugazi as my Augie Farks Award. Honestly, it's not even like perfectly encapsulates her. It makes no sense, but I think I love it. It's so random, and they never say her name. So I didn't know that was her name until I had to look up the cast, and I was just looking up how to spell character names. So I'm kind of going against the grain. We're going to pick Fugazi just because I like that one so much. It just makes me laugh.
I love that, and I also had that one written down too. And when I read it I was like scrolling through IMDb, and I read that, and I was like, Fugazi. I was like, what the hell? So then I went to go look it up because I was like, maybe this is a character from the original 1987 series that they reused the name or something. And I couldn't find anything. But so then I was like, well, what is Fugazi? I was like, maybe it's a nickname. So I go to look it up, and by definition, it means something fake, counterfeit, bogus, or not genuine. So I did think that was kind of a funny name for someone in the 21 Jump Street program, to begin with. They're all immature and not good at their jobs, whatever. So yeah, I love Fugazi. And then but I ultimately would give the award to Billiam Willingham. I think that is the funniest name ever, and it was just such a quick mention. They were he was like, "Hi, I'm Billiam Willingham," and I was also wondering if maybe he was such a burnout and he was on drugs and stuff, so maybe he accidentally messed up his own name. I thought maybe, but either way,
yeah,
maybe his name is William Billingham. I mean, either way, it's a funny name, and that's my vote for Augie Farks Award.
Love it.
So his handle on YouTube was Billiam Willingham, so I don't think he mixed it up because
I didn't notice that.
His name on YouTube was. I'm watching this movie a couple nights ago with my laptop open, and I have the Augie Farks Award. I'm ready to fill something in, And right there in the beginning of the movie, when he said, "I'm Billiam Willingham," I laughed out loud so hard. Paused the movie, typed that in. That's my selection as well. And Fugazi was my runner up.
Yeah.
And the Fugazi got a shout out also, I believe, in the same year in Wolf of Wall Street in the Matthew McConaughey
I think you're
scene
right.
where he's like, "It's a Fugazi," and he does his
Yeah.
little whistle noises and stuff. So funny, two references to Fugazi. I don't think there's ever been a Fugazi reference since 2012.
That's it.
But
There's only two.
Yeah.
two iconic movies of this year, both shouting out Fugazi. But yes, I'm gonna nominate Billiam Willingham.
I think Billiam Willingham takes the cake for the very first Augie Farks Award for Best Character Name. Love it.
All right.
Yeah.
It's locked in.
There you go.
runner up to Fugazi though.
Yeah. Next, we have our hot takes category. So, do you guys have any hot takes in general, strong opinions about anything from this movie? And we'll go to you first, Connor.
I have one. I have one hot take surrounding this movie, and it is Channing Tatum. I think he's a super underrated comedic actor. I think he's super funny in this. He's been really funny in the sequel. I used to not like him. I feel like when I was in middle school, he was like this heartthrob. He was in Step Up and Dear John, and all the girls liked him, and I didn't think he was a good actor. And this movie was like a really pivotal point in his career. I think the stuff that he does after this movie really gets a chance to show his acting chops. I mean, he's worked with Steven Soderbergh a bunch of times. He appears in The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's movie. He's in a bunch of really good acting roles after this movie. And I think he was able to kind of shatter that I'm just a handsome guy and go into like he has amazing comedic timing and is super aware of himself in this movie. And I don't know if he just has a bad agent, but I think he's criminally underused and should be in a comedy every single year. I think he's super underrated. That's my hot take.
I completely agree. And I think like it's almost like funny too, because like there's like a lot of talk recently, I feel like, about like pretty privilege, but it's like he almost has like the opposite of that, where it's like he was like kind of like pigeonholed into this one type of role because he is handsome, and it's like it's kind of funny. And it's like also like maybe Magic Mike was like not a great way to like get your career like up and moving, whatever.
I think he's good in that too. I think he is
good, but like in terms of people seeing him that way.
Exactly right.
So like I completely agree. Like I think he's underrated too. I also recently saw Blink Twice, which he's in, and that's like a more like thriller horror like serious movie, and he was so good in that too. And he plays like he's like a bad like guy in it, but he's so good. Like I agree, like he's not only a good comedy actor, but like he can also do like the serious stuff too. I really like him. And yeah, I think that's a great hot take. I honestly don't really have many hot takes. I have one stupid one, which is like low key. As I was watching this and thinking about reciting these quotes in this movie, I'm like, hot take maybe is that there's too much swearing in this movie. I'm like, am I a baby, or was there too much swearing? Because like every single line, like they said dick, like every other word was dick, and I was just kind of like, maybe it was a little bit much on the swearing front for me.
Yeah, circling back to Connor about Channing Tatum being underrated. Yeah, I'm trying to think if he was in any like outright comedic movies before this, because if not, I feel like this was the first time.
Anything.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time he really got to show off those comedic acting chops, and kind of doing a lot of like just doing some of the behind the scenes research for this movie. He like improvised or had like input on a lot of funny stuff. Like in general, he chose the appearance for his character in the high school flashback. Like he wanted to look like Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights. The jacket and the hair, he picked that. He improvised the Miles Davis line, and then it was also his idea to when they're escaping the hotel room at the end after he just kills someone, and Schmidt goes, "Oh, you just killed someone," and then he turns and he vomits on Schmidt. That was his idea. He asked he's like, I want to throw up on him after that happens. And so apparently he like threw up oatmeal and oatmeal water mixture, and he didn't tell Jonah Hill. So Jonah Hill's reaction in that scene is completely 100% like genuine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So no, I completely agree with Channing Tatum. With the swearing, yeah, there was a lot. But I feel like a lot of it added the comedic value. But yeah, I could definitely see
It
your
did.
point,
It
Val.
did.
Yeah, but no, it is a lot though, kind of on when you're looking for it later and listening back to it. As
Hmm.
for my hot takes, I really didn't have much. There almost were like kind of some gripes. Even though there's not many gripes like I have with this movie, the first of my honorable mention hot take is just that the school year timeline is kind of off. Like a school wouldn't cast, produce, rehearse, and put on a play with 30 days left of school. Jake
Yeah.
Johnson
So true.
explicitly says that there's only 30 days left of school and they're transferring in the beginning, and so that definitely does not happen that quickly. And also like Eric telling Schmidt that he can still go to Berkeley, and it's like May or June. You had to apply to school
Yeah,
in Berkeley in like October. So that
Yeah.
law, that ship has
the year
sailed.
before.
Oh, literally. But I said that my true kind of hot take slash gripe is that no one would ever believe that they were high school students. They look
Yeah.
so much older, and it makes me think of a story with Tom Holland when he was doing prep for the first Spider-Man. Because obviously British actor from England, didn't go to school here. He was only in his early 20s when he was doing, maybe I don't know, maybe it was for the first solo Spider-Man. So he'd already done Civil War. He makes his first appearance.
Mhm.
It is his first solo movie in 2017. To kind of prep him, they did this little like experiment where they sent him undercover into a American school, like high school, and he pretended like he was going to spend like 3 days pretending like he was a new student. And literally in his first class, he sits down and he's told the story interviews where he sits down and a girl next to him turns to him and just like blatantly calls out that like he shouldn't be there and like that like he's not a high school student. He's like, fuck. He's like, I'm already found out. And so he looks super young too for his age, especially back then, like
Mhm.
8, 9 years ago. So if he is kind of picked out like in that way, someone that does look super young, people like Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum would never pass as high school students. So
Yeah.
that's my hot take, is
Yeah.
that it never would have worked in real life.
Hmm. They definitely leaned into it in the movie. The movie's
Oh, for
very
sure.
self-aware because
Yeah.
they're called out constantly for looking old, specifically Channing Tatum. But yeah, no, you're right. There'd be 100 students being like, "Why are there 37-year-olds at lunch right now?"
I can't remember from this movie or if it was another movie where someone was making fun of someone, but I could have sworn someone told like Jonah Hill he has like crow's feet or something. Maybe that's another movie, but that like sticks out.
It's in the second. It's in the sequel. It's in the sequel.
Oh
It was
yeah, the one roommate.
the
That's what it is.
roommate
Yeah, yeah.
calls out his crow's feet.
That's good memory. Good memory. That I think sums up or finishes up our hot take section. After that, we move to our last award, not last category, but last award, which is our new award category of the Paul Rudd Award. And for this award goes to Paul Rudd every single time. But for this award, it's how would Paul Rudd fit into this movie? And Val, let's hear how you think Paul Rudd would fit into this movie first.
So I know we briefly talked about this a couple days ago when like the three of us were just chatting, but I do think that Paul Rudd could definitely have been either a like cool, sarcastic, like asshole teacher of the AP chemistry
Mhm.
instead of Ellie Kemper. Because I know Connor, you mentioned earlier that like whole storyline of her like flirting with Channing Tatum and like that inappropriateness or whatever, like that we could have just avoided that altogether if we had like a cool like male teacher for the AP chemistry, and then maybe like the band teacher could be like, oh, like someone else. I don't know. I thought he could be like one of the teachers. Like I think he would
Mhm.
have fit good in with his like typical sarcastic like role that he always plays. I think would have fit nicely in here. He also probably could have even been like the principal, even though I love
Hmm.
Jake Johnson. I think he definitely, I would have put him in as like a faculty staff type situation at the school.
No, that's a good
Definitely.
choice. I went a slightly different direction with this. I chose two different already existing Paul Rudd characters from other movies. Um, the first one being his Wet Hot American Summer character, Andy. I thought he would fit right in with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum as a 40-year-old pretending to be a high school student. Like the school has another older looking guy at their
I
school
like that.
playing a sassy Andy character from Wet Hot. And the other one I would put this scene with Paul Rudd when they're on drugs, where his role model's character is giving the stay off drugs Minotaur energy drink rally while they're on drugs. So it'd be Paul Rudd up on stage giving his presentation while they're both tripping.
Love it.
Those are the two Paul Rudds I would shoehorn into this
Yes.
movie.
A Paul Rudd cameo as him as a don't do drugs rep for the school would be perfect, and even better if he could still be that same character.
Yeah.
For me, for the Paul Rudd Award, I think it's similar to what Connor said about his What Hot American Summer-esque type of character being in this. Because I also thought about what Val said too about him potentially replacing Jake Johnson as the principal. I think Jake Johnson's too perfect in that, but I think where we could squeeze him in would be having him as a third Jump Street person entering the high school after Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill screwed up so much they just need backup to help this thing go right.
I love that.
But immediately though he's found out because they're dude, you're fucking 50 years old. You look younger, you look like you're an old man. No, you're clearly a narc. Get out of here. And then he immediately has to get off the assignment because he's immediately found out.
Yeah.
And that's his whole gag. It's just him appearing and then being kicked out and he's gone.
Yeah, he could lean into people say I look younger than I am, but he just immediately get found out.
Exactly.
Those are great. Those are great uses of Paul Rudd in this movie. And the Paul Rudd Award goes to Paul Rudd, as we all suspected.
Next, we have the drive-in double feature. What movie would you pair with this at the drive-in?
I have a fairly obvious choice for this one, and it's the sequel. It jumps right into it. This movie ends with the setup for the sequel, and the sequel is so funny. So it's just a very obvious choice. If you are going to watch this movie and you got time for another one, throw on 22 Jump Street. They're both hilarious. As a slight pivot to that, I would pitch a previous generation's undercover cop comedy with White Chicks, going right from 21 Jump Street into White Chicks. Cops infiltrating a young group of people under fake identities in a very different way in White Chicks, but similar premises, but just comedies of different eras.
How about you, Val?
I love that. I also had 22 Jump Street as like you said, the obvious choice. And then I also had Ted as well, because I think that Ted came out in the same year.
Yep, same year.
So I feel like that would be a good, actually what could potentially be together at a drive-in. Just two funny movies that came out around the same time. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I would leave it. Either 22 Jump Street or Ted.
Mm-hmm.
A movie with even more swearing and even more dick jokes. I
know. I'm not saying I don't like them. I'm just saying now that I'm getting older, I'm wait, every single word is dick.
I really like those picks, and it's funny you mentioned 22 Jump Street because the first time I was looking at this award and I picked another movie, I didn't even think of pairing it with the sequel. I don't know why I didn't think of that. 22 Jump
too obvious.
22 Jump Street is a great choice. And I think I went with, which you guys I'm sure will approve of this pick, is The Other Guys. That is a joint family favorite, and although not the same, just another great comedy and a great cop comedy. So both kind of get that through line of both the cop movies, both just kind of off the wall, really funny. Just a lot of personal bias plays into that, because a lot of times our families would pair those together on the random movie nights we'd have, where we just be at someone's house and just throw something on, and both of these would get played back to back. And The Other Guys too, I believe, was I think it was a 2010 movie, or was it 2011?
I think 2011.
Oh, okay, 2011.
Yeah,
so
right around there.
Within a year, of that. So kind of same kind of time frame. So those would fit pretty well together, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And great comedies, but also different enough too, so that it wouldn't feel like kind of just the same back to back. But I would pair it with The Other Guys, though.
It's a proven double feature. We've done it dozens of times.
Yeah, tried and true.
It works.
Yes.
No, those are great choices.
Now our very last official category of the pod is the classic popcorn bucket. So what would the popcorn bucket be for this movie if it were to be sold at the movie theaters? Do you have any ideas? This is more difficult than I feel like than role models, but what do you guys have? I guess we'll go to you first, Val.
So I have two thoughts, and they're very specific. I don't think that this would actually not play in terms of a movie theater would never do this because they're very niche. My first thought was to kind of combine well, actually, I'll back up. So Johnny Depp's character, Tom Hansen, I read that he wanted to be eating peanut butter in the original 1987 series. And I guess they like vetoed that. They were like, no, we're not letting you do that. So like one of his stipulations for coming back for this movie was like that he wanted to always just be eating peanut butter as like a running gag. So they let him do it. If you notice, he's always eating peanut butter every time they show him. So I thought that a fun thing would be for the movie theater, like Popcorn Bucket Company, whoever makes those, to collab with Peter Pan peanut butter, because that also brings in Peter Pan from Schmidt's character, like in the play. So yeah, I was thinking like a big like peanut butter or Peter Pan peanut butter bucket, and then they could do like a featured peanut butter chocolate popcorn that they would offer.
Great.
So like I said, very niche, very specific. But
you even put
Peter
Jonah
Pan
Hill's face on the Peter Pan logo.
yes, I love it. So that was my first one. Very, like I said, very specific.
Amazing.
A second one would be like a Cool Ranch popcorn bucket, like not anything like crazy, but literally just like a Cool Ranch popcorn bucket, like themed with Cool Ranch flavored popcorn.
That's a good one. I went with a actual prop of the movie turned into a popcorn bucket. I went with the piñata.
Oh,
I feel like having
that.
A little piñata with the opening and you can eat your popcorn right out of it would be pretty funny.
I like that.
And unique to this movie. I don't like the piñata idea more than your Peter Pan.
That's good.
Peanut butter bucket.
That's good. Really well thought out.
I had to use brain power to come up with that one for sure.
A lot more brain power than I did. You'll find out in a second. But
yeah, what did you have, Matthew?
So I had a few ideas, and I'll pick one. But I'll read my first bullet. My actual sentence in my notes says, "I want to say Korean Jesus, but no." That was my note.
I also wrote that with a question mark, and I was like, I'm not going to mention it.
We could never do it. It would never actually fly. It'd be absolutely absurd. So we'll have to strike that from the list. And then I just wrote limo because it was like something limo themed. I don't really know.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Like out of the limo window.
Yeah, and then my next two were maybe just pictures of the cast, like Tatum and Hill in their prom tuxes, people in their prom attire spread out like kind of around the sides. And then also maybe my other idea, it would be having like a picture. It'd be like the wraparound of the bucket would be a picture of kind of the shot you see of them when they're fighting on stage during the play. So that whole kind of rectangle of that, and you get all the set. You get Brie Larson, you get the two of them, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, fighting in midair while Jonah Hill's strapped up on the rig or whatever as Peter Pan. So kind of have that scene playing across it. I definitely like your ideas way more, but if I had to pick any of those ideas, I almost want to go with like limo outside prom scene with everyone dressed up in their tuxes, maybe doves kind of flying around the outskirts.
I like that.
I think that'd be my pick for the bucket.
Love
those are great. I would have bought any one of those.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and not that we never choose winners for this, but I feel like Val is the popcorn bucket winner for today.
Yeah, I think the Peter Pan
really good.
Popcorn,
Thank you.
Peanut butter popcorn would certainly be the number one.
Absolutely. But yeah, that wraps up all of our categories for today's episode. I guess all there's left at the end is just odds and ends. So anything we didn't get to today that you guys wanted to discuss or throw out there before we wrap up?
I had one thing that I just want to throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently saw a clip of Sean Fennessy I think he was with Bill Simmons and Chris Ryan, and I don't even know if it was on the Rewatchables or if it was whatever. I saw it on Instagram. But the three of them were talking, and Sean Fennessy mentioned how like when he watches Anchorman, like it's like a song to him where he has all of the lyrics memorized, but not only that, he memorizes like how they're sung too. And I feel that Role Models, 21 Jump Street and the other guys like are those movies for me where it's like I not only like memorize like everything that they've said in it because I've seen it so many times, but like I know the exact like way that they're said and like the facial expression, the inflection, like the facial expressions that are made when they say that. It's like I can play these movies in my head from start to finish. And yeah, 21 Jump Street is absolutely one of those movies. And when I saw that clip, I was like laughing because I was like, I completely know what he's talking about, and I have that with those movies.
Nice. I was working on a theory while watching this movie, and I know it's well known now that the coach, Rob Riggle's character, is the supplier,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about he's always eating Cool Ranch Doritos, and there's the moment when they eat the drugs, and he says, "Oh, what is that, barbecue? Cool Ranch?" And I had forgotten that he addresses it at the end of the movie. So while watching the movie, I'm thinking, are Cool Ranch Doritos in the drug and that's why it tastes like it? Or does he have Dorito fingers while he's manufacturing this drug? He's making the drug, but he's always eating the Cool Ranch Doritos, and he's gotten the seasoning on the drugs as he's packaging them. So I'm leaning towards that. I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought of this before. And then we get to the scene at the end where he says, I threw in some cool deets. And I was like, ah, shoot, that just, there goes my theory.
Yeah,
But I
that's
was
so
really
funny.
hoping to kind of ask you guys as like a mystery of this movie. Why did the drugs taste like Cool Ranch Doritos? And then they answer it, and my theory went out the window. So I was a little disappointed to hear that gag at the end of the movie. I was really hoping it was just his Dorito fingers all
Yeah.
over the drugs.
Incredible.
That's funny.
I think for me, for just a few random things I want to tag on at the end for today, mainly like 2 or 3 bits of trivia that I just wanted to toss out there that I thought were pretty interesting. One was Channing Tatum reportedly passed on this role twice before accepting it, which is kind of crazy, and really glad he ended up taking it. Another was that one of you might have said this earlier, and I apologize if it's been said, but the pictures of baby Schmidt on the wall at his parents' house were real pictures of Jonah Hill
Yeah.
as a baby. And apparently his mom was like asked about it in real life, like at the premiere. And she's like, I don't get why everyone's laughing. Like, those are really beautiful pictures of you. Also, just them calling him in the movie, like saying he looks like a baby Jay Leno or Fred Savage from Wonder Years.
Yeah.
And those cracked me up.
Wonder Years douche.
Yeah. Looks like I died in a car crash and you guys never moved on. And then my last final odd end that I wanted to do was a little shout out to the directors, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Since this movie, they've gone on to direct a lot of stuff. The sequel, they've done all the Lego movie franchise stuff. They've been huge they were like the creative minds behind that. They've done the Into the Spider-Verse series, which is a personal favorite of mine, and that's another just like, I think it feels weird using the word masterpiece for Into the Spider-Verse, but they did such a good job on that. But
I agree.
Thank you. We'll get to that part eventually. But doing the research of this, I didn't realize that their only big movie they directed before this was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 3 years earlier. And so when I was Googling this, there was had a tagline and like an article or something that said Sony has hired Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball directors for Lord Christopher Miller for 21 Jump Street. I'm like, that sounds so weird. So that was really cool that I assume it sounds like they'd be taking a chance if that's who they're pulling, but obviously they crushed it and had a huge career after. But I wanted just to give them a plug because they're 2 personal favorites of mine.
Yeah, their only live action movies are 21 Jump Street and their sequel. It was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They did the Lego movie, the Spider-Man movies, like you said. We almost saw them direct Solo, a Star Wars story.
Right.
They directed about 75% of that movie before getting fired and replaced with Ron Howard.
Forgot about that.
So to this day, I still would have loved to have seen their version of that movie.
Yeah.
It was apparently a little more comedic. And that was the differences that led to them getting fired.
Gotcha.
I would have loved to have seen that movie. Unfortunately, they were fired. And they've done mostly producing and writing since then. They haven't done as much directing. And like I said, it's been primarily animation. They met each other at Dartmouth, and they were both working on different comic strips for the paper at Dartmouth, and became really good friends over a shared love of animation. And we've gotten a lot of great animated features out of them. And and then this movie and its sequel. So, I mean, they've got a great career going. I'd love to see them do a little bit more directing work in the future.
Yeah. And to go off of that too, I can't remember if they're writing, producing, or directing these movies, but I know this year they are credited in heavily involved in both Project Hail Mary, that's coming out starring Ryan Gosling, that is a Andy Weir book adaptation that is from the same author of The Martian. And then they're also involved with I believe it's The Sheep Detectives, which is a live action movie where, what is it? Wolverine actor Hugh Jackman plays like a sheep herder, and then he's mysteriously murdered, and his sheep then try to solve the mystery of
I
his
just saw the
murder.
preview of that.
Yeah, and
that looks funny.
I think it was based on a book, I'm pretty sure, but they are involved with that as well. So, and it's live action, and the sheep are obviously CGI, but I know they're involved in that in this year upcoming.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any other odds and ends? I got a couple things.
I'm good on odds and ends.
Watching this movie, I was reminded of a true story that happened to me. It was the scene where they're suiting up before going to prom, and they're loading up with all their guns and getting their suit on. And you hear Schmidt's mom yell, "It's time for chores." And they're like, "We're going, like, we don't have time for this." And she says, "If you live in this house, you have time for chores." And then it cuts to them mowing the lawn and taking out the trash before they can go to prom. Now, this movie came out in the spring of 2012. 1 year after this was my junior prom. And while I was trying to get ready for junior prom, our father asked me to mow the lawn before I left to go to prom pictures. And I told him, no, I don't have time. I have to get ready for prom. And he said something along the lines of, "You live under this roof, you have time for chores." And I mowed the lawn right before going to prom my junior year, 1 year after this movie came out.
That's so funny.
And then I have one last thing. They're such short moments that I didn't want to include them in the favorite scenes and or favorite quotes of the movie. But there are two moments, one in the beginning of this movie and one at the end. And they're two of my favorite movie moments of all time. There is the very short little snippet of Channing Tatum when they're back in high school in the beginning of the movie, where he says,
"You're a fucking nerd."
One of my favorite line readings of all time. I like audibly burst out laughing every single time. I'll rewind it, watch it again, and laugh just as hard. And then at the very end of the movie, when Dave Franco's character is in the back of the limo and Molly, Brie Larson's character, is asking for help, and he's just like, just stuttering and stammering is absolutely the funniest thing I think in this whole entire movie.
Me and Gianna used to love that so much. Like, we thought that was the funniest line ever. I can't believe I didn't bring that up because he just, it's like he absolutely could have gotten up and helped. He just goes, he's like, "There's nothing I can do."
I never realized
get a word out, just stutters, stammers.
He's like, "I'm not risking my life for you."
I never realized how prolonged that was of him just going,
It was like 2 seconds longer than it needed to be, and it's even funnier for it. I absolutely love that moment. So I didn't bring it up earlier. I just wanted to shout out what I think are two of the very funniest moments in this movie.
Definitely. Well, I think that caps off not only our odds and ends, but today's episode of 21 Jump Street.
Well done, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Popcorn in the Face. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Popcorn in the Face Pod for episode updates, behind the scenes content, and all of our movie opinions. New episodes will be available on Wednesdays on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.